What is up, everyone? Vex30 here, coming in with a highly requested video today. And today we are doing a build guide for patch 2.07, 2.08. I don't think the builds are going to change much in the next two patches, so we are going to release a build guide today. And a build guide is as simple as I'm going to explain my builds. I'm going to build them over again. While I'll look at them, delete them, build them over, and explain every single card, why it's there, why I have the build. So this is going to be a pretty long video. So down below, I am going to put timestamps to each one of the champions when they start. And you can check out the builds if you want to come in here just for one champion, or you want to watch the whole thing through. It does not matter. The video will be up. Everybody's asking for my builds, and I currently have my profile set to private. So if I go, what is it, gameplay? Public profile disabled. So that means you cannot look up my builds. You cannot look at like Paladins Guru and see my games. It's just something I did for competitive reasons. So let's kind of jump into this because this is going to be a long video. So let's dive straight into it. So champions, let's see. We're going to go left to right, up to down. So starting with Io. Level 19 Io, by the way. I need a player more. Io, let's see, loadouts. I have a bunch of different builds, and I don't think any of these are really good except for this main one. So what I'm going to do is just delete these, and maybe we'll look at a theory craft build for her, and maybe we'll make separate builds for DR, off support, and sacrifice. That's another thing we are going to do in this video, is our main builds is going to be for main support with the main supporting legendary. And then we'll make other builds for the off supports and the other legendaries. So this is going to be a long video, so be sure you stick around, check it out, check out all these builds, see what I think about the builds. But here it is, straight off the bat, if you want to copy that down. But let's rebuild it. Here we go, empty slot. Health. Base health on Io is super important. Io's base mechanic of her right click heal makes her stand in the open to heal. So being a little extra tanky will always help her out. So health at 4, very important. Moonlight Garden. Hits with your light bow restores 2% moonlight. We popped that up to 6. I think since Io is very fast firing and very easy to hit her shots, being able to recharge your moonlight, which is your right click, and your right click works off of a resource base, and your resource is increased by auto attacks, if that makes sense. I'm sure everyone here has played Io, so you know how it works. This card is very important though. Let's see, what else? This is a card that I've played with before that I just don't think is worth if you're playing a main support. So just a thing on that. Spirit Arrows. This card is so valuable. It is so good because you constantly need to be redeploying Luna all the time. The whole time you're playing, you need to be redeploying Luna. Because when bulldozers come online, you're going to have to redeploy it so it doesn't just get one shot by somebody. So we run that at level 2. While you're using your right click, it reduces the redeploy time by 0.2 seconds per tick. So like it's a second every second. Let's see, where else? Protectors. We run protectors in this build. Luna restores 2% moonlight every 1 second in 30-foot range. So as long as you're standing by Luna, you are increasing your moonlight passive, which is again very important. We used to run Crescent instead of this, but I don't think Crescent's worth because Luna or Io's dash, if you're gonna die and you drop below what I had it at 30%, if you drop below, I need it at 40, level 4, level 3 to make it worth it. Because if you're dropping below what I had at 30%, it's not worth it. Because if you're dropping below 30, you're gonna die. The dash doesn't do much for you. But let's add Protectors back in there, and let's find our last card, which was Restored Faith. Again, a very core card to Io. I think this, Spirit Arrows, Moonlight Garden, Celestial Body, and Restored Faith are all core cards, and this one can be messed around a little bit to your preference. I think these 4 are very core to Io. Again, since she has to stand in the open to heal, Restored Faith helps so much. Moonlight Garden, you have to get some sort of restoration of your moonlight, and base health, again, because you have to stand in the open. But this is our main build. Main for Io, and let's look at the next one. So the other 2 talents are DR and Sacrifice. I don't know builds for these, so we're gonna theory craft one up really quick for the DR. Say you're running DR off support, okay? Say you have a main support already, and you're gonna play like a Torvald, right? You're gonna follow around a Bomb King. Say you're gonna follow around a Bomb King, giving him DR. Let's see how that works. Let's make a build for that. So first thing is first, Swift's arrows get so much more value if you are solo pocketing. I don't know if that'll be at level 5, but we're going to put it at level 5. If you are solo pocketing somebody and helping them out, you should be running Swift Arrows. If you're running as an off support. Main support, you're not healing somebody long enough to really get the full effectiveness. Moonlight. As an off support, you're going to be autoing more. You probably will be doing more damage, so you constantly want to get that Moonlight up to keep your pocket target up and alive and fragging, because the DR is massive on that. What else can we add to this build? Redeploy is still really good, so you can have your dog with you. We'll see about that card. Again, self-sustain, very important. Base health, we could run base health in this build. Since you are an off support, you want to, again, be more tanky. So maybe we do something like this, because you probably won't be using as much Moonlight solo pocketing somebody, so you can reduce the amount you gain from hitting your light bow, but you still want the high movement speed plus the DR on your target, so your target's getting movement speed, DR, and healing all at once. It's basically a better Torvald at this point, with Torvald's nerfs incoming. So I think this is just about it. You want to, again, if you're following somebody, you want to keep your dog with you. Even though it's not healing, having your dog for that utility stun is so important. And to throw it on point and throw it off point whenever you need. So I think Spirit Arrows is a core card to every build. I think this is the build, though. If I had to run this, I would run this DR Pocket. I would say this is a DR Pocket build. And then let's run one for Sacrifice, like true off support, off sup. So a true off support build. Let's add health. We don't need Swift Arrows. We want Crescent in this one. We probably run that very high. You want some self-sustain, which is always important. Having some way to heal your allies to help yourself. I don't think Moonlight Garden is as important in this build, but we probably will still add it. The play range doesn't matter. None of that matters. This could be good. On an off support, we're just going to throw it in there. And redeploy is still really good, even on this build. So instead of this, we would run Moonlight Garden. Crescent 4, I would run Health 3, this. I think this is the build for an off support. Very close to the build for an off support. You have self-sustain, you have a way to get out. So what I would do with this build is, it's personal preference. I would adjust this to 4 or 3 and then put it into Restored Faith. I personally like this more. As soon as you drop below half, you're able to jump out. Redeploy still is super, super good because your dog has utility on it. So, and then you get some Moonlight back. As an off support, you still want to look to heal your allies. You just don't want to waste a whole ability on nothing, right? Even as an off support, you still should be fragging, but looking for the heals at the same time. And that healing will help you out as well, because you are running Restored Faith. So that's why I was a bit of a weird off support, because she has no self-sustain without helping allies. But if you wanted to run something more fraggy, I think this would be it. But I think that's all for Io. Again, this is her main build. If you want to look at it, copy it down. This is the main supporting build I run right now, but it is subject to change. Io is the one specific champion that is subject to change with this build guide. And it's something that I will try to keep people updated with. But it's subject to change just because Io is such a new character. If I'm running a DR Pocket build, I would run this. DR like solo pocket. If I was running off support, I'd run something like this. So those are my Io builds. And it covers each one: your main support for lifelink, your off support, solo pocket, and your full DPS Sacrifice, because I think Sacrifice has value as an off support. That is Io. Let's move on to the next one, which is Furia. We have a bunch we have a bunch of loadouts for Furia. We are probably we'll touch Exterminate just because it's kind of fun to run sometimes. I don't think it's good, but we'll make a build for that. Cherish. All right, so Furia. Loadouts. Cherish. This is my main Cherish loadout. Let's name this to main. We will rebuild it and explain everything as always. So let's boom, bada bing, bada boom. Wait. I can clear all. Forgot about that. Forgot they added that. So with Cherish, the most two important, I would say 3 most important cards. This is your core. You have to run this. Light Forged, 5. Maybe you can run it at 4. I think it's better at 5. The 0.25 seconds really end up helping in the long run. I would run Light of Dawn 5. Now, there will be a main build and then the second main build of Furia, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then you have Burning Oath, 3. On all supports, you need some sort of self-sustain. It is very important. If anything in this build, if you want higher self-sustain, I would take a point out of Light of Dawn and put it into Burning Oath, but that's what I would do. I would run something like this: increased ammo, And honestly, you can run anything for this other 1-point card. I think the increased ammo is very important. So I would run this 100%. And this 1-point card if you want a bigger radius. If you want, I don't think that's very good stun duration. I think this could be pretty good distance. This could be pretty decent because you get more utility. So that's a really good 1-point card. This is always a good 1-point card just because it helps your health, you know, staying alive. There's a couple really good 1-point cards, but we're gonna put it into health for now. And this is it. This is my main build for Furia. It is very simple, simplistic. Again, the most important 1-point card is right here. Increase 2 ammo because you are fragging on Furia. That ammo will always help you. Moving on to the next one. I have 2 different solar builds, which we're gonna delete one and only work with one today. Test is the second main, and I don't remember this build. Oh, I was testing that. Okay, not important. Okay, sorry. Solar open, which doesn't matter. Solar blessing. Solar blessing. And again, with Furia, I think her best talent is Cherish, and you all should always be running Cherish, just so everybody knows. A lot of people say why Cherish over Solar Blessing, because it's easier to use. You get utility with Cherish. I explained it all on my my tier list video, so if you want to go hear the full reasoning, go watch that video. But Cherish is better, trust me. So the loadout, again, you need self-sustain, but with this build you want something with Stroke the Fire, you want a radius on your pyre, you want cooldown still, and you want, what was the other card I had? We'll leave it at this for a second, then we'll look at it. So you want to reduce the cooldown of your Pyre Strike all the time. You want to be using your dash to do it. Getting the resets on a crucial point fight is so important. On an end of a point fight, you hit a beam, you get the dash, you almost get the full cooldown off your Q, you beam again, you basically win the point, saying that your tank catches the beam. But that's like the core of the loadout, and then you can use any 1-point card yet again. You have many different options. You could run reduce cooldown on your dash so you can get more pyres up, but I would run ammo. So this is it. Any things I would change is reducing this, maybe increasing this, but again, your right click is still important even if you're running Solar Blessing. So this is the build for Solar Blessing. There are some variants of this, but this is what I run. Let's talk about this build. Let's talk about this build for a second, because this is very important. Clear all, I know this build by heart. Again, this is for Cherish. We're gonna name this main, second main, because this is our second main build, and there's a reason for this build. So you're gonna run cooldown, you're gonna run self-sustain, you're gonna run health, ammo, and dash distance. So there are 2 different reasons for this build. Let me put the points in, 5, 4, and then 4. So there are 2 different reasons for this build. One is they have a heavy dive comp, which Furia does not fare well into because her movement ability is not that good. It really just isn't. So you want a higher self-sustain, higher base health to try to keep yourself alive. This is why we run dash distance, to try to get you that extra inch around a corner to stay alive. The cooldown, again, is still Cherish. You have to run cooldown. This is the core. You always run this card. Self-sustain, we pop that up to 4. Make sure we hit it at 420. Just to make sure you have the self-sustain to keep yourself alive. Base health increased because you're gonna get dove. These 2 together go really well. Ammo for more damage, blah blah blah. Distance and wings. That's the first reason. And second, one thing I've noticed is if your team has a lot of shields, this card loses value hardcore late game. But say you have something like an Inara Ashe. Ashe shield is not that good, right? So this build gets more value because the enemy team isn't going to be buying Wrecker. So your 250 health shield gets a lot more value. Say you have, let me think, Barrack Nando. If you have Barrack Nando on your team, this build will not get value because they will have records like game, and this is totally irrelevant because Wrecker just slaps that. It doesn't help. I've tested it, it just doesn't help. And you'd run something like this just to keep yourself alive more and you frag more. So that's something very interesting with Furia that a lot of people don't realize, and then maybe I shouldn't be saying, but I'm gonna, because I enjoy telling people things. So let's run a build for Exterminate. I think this is important. This is important. If you're running a DPS-y build, you still want this, and you probably oh, this is tough because she has a lot of good cards for Exterminate. You want some self-sustain, you want to reset. Okay, so this is interesting. I've never made an exterminate build before, but the purpose of exterminate is to throw the beam and stun people. So you're going to be hitting people with your beam. So this is important because you can bounce these off of each other. I think these two cards are important. Having increased radius will help as well. Having some sort of self-sustain is important. Even though we're not getting any cooldown off of our Kindle Soul, I think it's okay. It's only 1.25 seconds that you're missing. So you're going to be healing less often, but you're going to be fragging, and you're going to be getting that self-sustain when you need it. Maybe you don't run base health. Maybe you run ammo because you're fragging. But this is exter. I don't think this is a very good legendary or talent on Furia, even if you're fragging. But if you want to run it, this is something close to what I'd run. You can put in points wherever. You can change out this card. You can change this out. Whatever you want to change out, feel free, because this is a experimental, first time making. But this is what I'd run because people are always curious what I run. So that's exterminate, and that is Furia builds. Moving on to Grohk. All right, Grohk is interesting. This is not something I've touched in a long time. So these are very basic builds, and it's not something I've put a lot of thought into, honestly. So Grohk is one of those, the builds are there. I don't think he's that good, but the Maelstrom ones are important. So first of all, let's go over Totemic Ward. This is my Totemic build. It is very, very, I think it's one of the better builds to run. So let me look at the cards, duration. Okay, let's build it. So totem health, very important. You want to have a more tankier totem. Even if they buy bulldozer, at least you're having some extra health so it doesn't get one shot, because you're going to be running duration. You don't want it one shot because you want to get that extra duration out of it. And when you get Chronos 2 and you run this duration with Gale 5, you can constantly be having a totem on the field all the time. So that's why you run Gale. I run Healing Rain 2. At least allies get a little extra healing. It's not that much extra healing, but it still is extra healing. And then Outreach 5. I think it's very important to... Where did I mess up? I think I had Gale at 4. Outreach 5. I think it's very important to have Outreach 5 because you can place a totem very safe and your allies will still touch it. The radius on the totem is so important, so you can put it in good spots so it doesn't die immediately. And that's what's important with Totemic Ward. This build isn't that variable. Like the Healing Rain you can trade out maybe for Astral Traveler or Phantom so you can stay alive. So this is what I would do instead. Possibly Healing Rain or Phantom. I don't think Astral Traveler... I haven't tested this. Which 1, 2, 3 point card gets more value of these two? It's something I should test. But if you want to test it yourself and tell me how it comes out, please let me know. Because I'm very curious to see like 1 point card versus this. 2 point versus this 2 point, you know. See what gets value by itself. So we're going to run Phantom 2 or Healing Rain. Either or. Here's the build. We're going to name this main. This is our main healing loadout. And boom, done. Domain. Spirit's Domain. So everybody knows what Spirit's Domain is. Heals ally for 900 health a second. Wow, that's a lot of healing. But the issue with Grohk is you have to stand in the open at a very short range with no self-sustain besides your totem. So, this is the build I have because your totem still is very important in this build because you need to be toteming allies. You know, I think maybe looking at this now, you don't want the extra duration because the totem is very just not tanky. So if anything, I would run... Oh God, what would I run? By the way, I tested this. It just isn't worth it. You don't get enough bounces for self-sustain. It's not a good self-sustain. Maybe I would run Totemic Rescue at level 3 to make sure you stay alive. This is a tough build for me. I think the rest makes sense. These two make sense because Spirit's Domain is based off your auto. Gale, you want to be reducing your totem cooldown constantly, and I would run Phantom 2 and Totemic Rescue 2. Maybe Astral Traveler instead of Totemic Rescue, just so you can stay alive. Something like that. Something in those works. So you run Spirit's Domain. This is basically the build. If you guys have any more variants or like what you think is more efficient, please let me know down in the comments because Spirit's Domain is not something I've thought about very often. I need to put more thought into it, to be honest. So there's two different kind of Maelstrom builds that we have in the game, and one I think is better than the other, but the other is just kind of fun to run. First one is the better one, which is Maelstrom with Ghost Walk. So let me look at this. All right, So you need on Maelstrom increased bounce range, very important. Arc Lightning is so good on Maelstrom just so you can get more bounces. That's more damage. That's more movement speed, so it's super good to run. You need Astral Traveler 3 and you need Phantom 3 to make sure you stay alive. You need to stay alive as Grohk. It is so important. Absolutely so important to stay alive. These are what these two help with. You don't run any movement speed on your right click, so you're running Lightning Rod instead. So you can have full self-sustain and you run that level 4. Because you're constantly going to be hitting champions and you're going to be getting that huge shell sustain off Maelstrom. As long as you're hitting your auto attacks, you're constantly bouncing. It makes you even extra tanky. And in Thunderstruck, I mean, you're going to recharge ammo for unique enemies hit with Shock Pulse. 6% is a pretty big deal for a level 1 point card. So with Maelstrom, Thunderstruck is a great 1 point card. So this is the Maelstrom Ghost, and this is Maelstrom Health. This is something I always play with, or I used to play with. This is very fun to run Conduit. That's the main difference, and you run a higher Thunderstruck, which I don't think is worth. You run a lot of base health in this build, so you're so tanky. I'm not going to explain this build. It's just a variation. I think Maelstrom Ghost is the better one, but that is Grohk. It's his builds. I really haven't put much thought into it because Grohk has been so irrelevant for so long. He's just not something I'd touch right now in the current meta until he gets a change or a buff. Maelstrom's the only one, so this build has thought put into it. So this is a good build for Maelstrom, and that's it for Grohk. He's very simple, very basic. There's not much to him just because he really is not that good right now. So let's talk about Grover. Grover, I have a bunch of different builds, but I only think a couple of them are relevant. No, I think they all are relevant, but we would get rid of this one because we don't need this one. So we have two different kinds of builds for his Rampant Blooming, which is his main supporting legendary. We're going to do second main. We're going to name these real quick. Main. I know this one by heart. Well, this would be... Hold on. This is going to be second main. Let me be as clear as I can. This would be our main because we use this one more often. So let's talk about our main first. Let's clear all. So you'd run something Verdant Expanse 5. Verdant Expanse is overpowered on Grover because it doesn't diminish with anything anymore. With the old Rampant Blooming or the old Efflorescence, that's what it was. Efflorescence, it would diminish with Efflorescence and not be as relevant, so people would run it really low. But since it doesn't diminish with anything, it's very good. Unstoppable. This card is so good because it works for 4 seconds. And hold on, I'll show you why in 1 second, why it's really good. Because Grover's cooldown, I believe, is 8 seconds on his heal, so it already has a 50% uptime, which is amazing for 24% DR in Grover. And then you're getting elims with your 1 point card. This card has literally, I have an example in PPL how good this card is. We were on Ice Mines. This is a great 1 point card. We were on Ice Mines, okay? Fusheko was fighting a Drogos in the cabin area. I drop out a window, give him a heal. Focus on the point tank. We kill Barrack, and I get 1 second off my Q, and then Fusheko as Willow goes in the window now, their windows, and I'm like, oh god, I gotta help him. I get that 1 second off my heal, which is huge. Or I think I get 2 seconds off because we got 2 elims. But nonetheless, it's basically, this card gives you like 0.8 seconds off your heal. And I was just able, just in a split second, save him from another person. He gets the double kill. Or not really a double kill because it wasn't that quick succession. But this card has very high relevance. It keeps your unstoppable up more often, the uptime more. It's one of those cards where you don't think about as a 1 point card, but it really is. And the reason it is a 1 point card, because his core is so important. You can't run this any higher. Perennial. You have to run this at 4 or 5. Cooldown on your Q. It's 10 seconds, but sorry, 8 seconds with the reduction. So with Perennial 4, I don't think 5's that important. I think you can run 4 and put it into Verdant Expanse because I think this is more important. Some people run Perennial like 3. I think I saw Gara run it at 3 and run Unstoppable 5. I don't think that's necessary, so I like the extra cooldown so you can get the more uptime on the 24% rather than the less uptime but more DR. It's just a personal preference. And the other 1 point card can honestly be what you want. I run Barkskin. You could run Vine Range. You could run Force of Nature. You can 150 shield, when you drop below, which this will help you overall, but this will help you in certain situations. It's something I might test as a 1 point card. That's That's about it. You either run health, force of nature, vine grasp, whatever you want to run. But this is my main. These are the cores right here. These two cards are the cores. And the reason they're the cores because Unstoppable can be moved out for Gentle Breeze. We're not going to go through this whole build again. We're just going to talk about the difference. DR is for when they have a more divey comp. Say you're on one of his good maps like Stone Keep. I would always run DR. But say you play Grover on Ice Mines, I would run Gentle Breeze because you're not going to be dove that often on Ice Mines. It is not possible for them to dive you that hard. And if they do, you have a get out of jail free card with your ultimate and you just go CC immune. So I think Gentle Breeze, even though it's only 20%, it's for 4 seconds. Yet again, a 50% uptime. It's amazing. It's a 50% uptime, which is great, and it's 20% movement speed. You don't think that makes a big difference? Buy Nimble 2 and tell me how it feels. It feels amazing, right? I'm constantly giving my allies Nimble 2. With 50% of the time, they have Nimble 2. So that's why I run this on certain maps when I can run it. Let's look at this real quick. Yeah, I was right. Blossom reduced by 2, 8 seconds. So both of those cards have a 50% uptime, which is so important. And the other two builds, super quickly. This is for, what is it called again? Deep Roots. This is for Deep Roots. You still are running healing because it is important on Grover, even with Ferocity, to heal your allies. So you're running, the difference is you run Chop Down 4 instead of your core and your DR, your speed. So you have more Deep Roots up. If anything, I would have the full cooldown and reduce Verdant Expanse, but I think Verdant Expanse 5 is OP. So that's why I run Chop Down at 4. This 1 point card is important. Again, this one you can move out however you want. Ferocity. Now this one's a little bit more different. This is not something I could probably remember this off the base of my head. So we're gonna run. Yeah, no. Okay, we're not gonna rebuild this one. We're gonna talk about it as we go. Ferocity, sorry. Perennial 4. You want a cooldown reduction all the time off your heal, even if you're again running an off support. Having the heal for yourself to work off of Unstoppable is very important. Now you're giving yourself again 50% uptime on 18% DR. Important. Base health is, I think base health is really good. It's base health versus DR. I think having a mix of both is so good in this build. Adrenaline, I pop up by 1 because you're going to be getting more elims with what you're doing with Ferocity. You're going to be hitting more people. It is so good. And having your cooldowns more often, especially when you're running a more damage build is important. You're not running Verdant Expanse. So like I would run Adrenaline higher in my support builds, but you have to run Verdant Expanse. And the last one, which is very important, is Overgrowth. So what Overgrowth does on a Ferocity build is you can vine in, do damage, maybe ult your allies and be able to vine out. As a support, you hard commit when you're ult and you play with your team. You get the heal on them, you stay with them, and you fight with them. As Ferocity, you are very effective at long range. So you quickly vine in, maybe ult an ally, and then vine out if they get you low. That's why Overgrowth is important. You want to make sure you stay alive. Again, it would be a good card in support build, but Grover has such good cores that you can't really put it in. But that's Grover. Not much more to say. Covers all 3 of his legendaries. It's pretty basic between these two. You're gonna get Dove, you run DR. If you're not gonna get Dove, you run Gentle Breeze. It's that simple. There's not much to it. So let's move on to the next one, which is Jenos. How many more do we have left? Jenos, Damba, Pip, Seris, Ying. We got a lot left, but Pip is very simple. Ying is very simple, and Seris is very simple. So let's move on to Jenos. Jenos is pretty simple too, even though this doesn't look simple. It is simple. We can delete this. Sustain. Why did I run this? So I can run extra sustain? Yeah, not important. I don't like that. These 3 are important. Oh god, we're gonna make a Power of Cosmian build too. Jenos. So loadouts. This is my main build for Jenos. Light Years 4. Even though I think having this card at 5 Astro Cycle is very important, so the uptime on your heals, you can always be keeping heals on people constantly. I feel on all maps that Light Years is more important, so you don't have to put yourself out of position to heal people. I think taking the 0.5 seconds off the duration for the 10% on range is much more value for the range. So that's why I run that. Retrograde, you run this at level 5 on every main support build. You just want more cooldown off your heal, so you can rotate it and keep it on 3 people constantly with a higher Chronos. Relativity, because Jenos is an extremely safe support, you run Relativity at 1. You still want some sort of self-sustain. 40 health per second isn't a lot, but at least it helps you just a little bit. And then Heavenly Pull is the best 1-point card on Jenos, so you can get more lifts at more ranges. I can't tell you the amount of times I was just barely able to catch an Ashe out of her dash before she dashed. Like when she's in the windup, you can lift Ashe and cancel her dash, and she can't use it. Heavenly Pull helped me with that so many times, because Jenos, again, is a safe healer. You won't be close to tanks very often. If you see an Ashe about to dash, you Stellar Wind up to her, spam Q as soon as she's dashing, and make sure you lift her while she's dashing. That's what Heavenly Pull helps with. But this is the main build. Again, not too much to it. Very simple. The only big difference is Light Year and Astral Cycle. Some people run this at 5, this at 3. I like this as 4, and this at 4 as well. Jump. This is the other main. Let's change this to main. This build here is not something I run as often nowadays, because I like the range so much that I don't want to sacrifice it for Space Jam. This build is good on maps like Serpent and Bright Marsh. Bright Marsh, you can jump back into spawn with Space Jam if you drop, and Serpent, you can jump your all the way up to the high ground, which is very nice in Serpent, because sometimes you don't have high ground characters, and having an extra character up there just always helps. Sorry to get a drink of water. Yeah, it's very simple. Space Jam, we change out Heavenly Pull for this. We reduce Light Years by, maybe we can do something like this instead. Yeah, I would run something like this. I haven't looked at this build in a little bit. So, Astral Cycle 4, Light Years 3, Space Jam 2. This is a little bit more viable on those maps, running an extra range, but it's still, I don't like sacrificing the 4, and I don't like sacrificing Heavenly Pull. So let's talk about our Binary Star build. Binary Star, Relativity 5. I think having the highest self-sustain you can on this build is important, because you're fragging, and having 20 health, 200 health per second constantly makes you very tanky early game. Retrograde 5, you still want to be putting heals on allies. There's literally no point when a heal comes up just to plop it on an ally real quick, even though you're fragging. It's not that hard. You know, it's not that hard. I'd still run Heavenly Pull. I run Light Years 1 just so I can get some extra range, so I can keep heals on allies, which keeps heals on myself, because I'm running the Relativity. And then Astral Cycle 3, increase the duration. This is basically a main support build with different cards different points put into different areas. That's all it is. Let's just make this build for the fun of it. Heavenly, this. We run Relativity. We can run this. And we can run... Whoops, come on. Come on. There we go. Maybe run this. Run this at 4, 3, 3. No. So we could do something like this. I don't like Inner Peace, actually. I don't think I'd run Inner Peace. So what 1-point card would we want? Maybe extra health, just for the fun of it. Reduce cooldown for this, and then you run this. Because I think the increased Void Grip range on whatever this talent's so relevant. Power of the Cosmium's not that good. Because late game Cripple or Resi comes online, and it's just not that important. But Heavenly 4/4, like Heavenly Pull 4 is important. Falling Star makes you get your pull up more often if people kill your target, which if you lift a tank on point, they're stuck and they can't do anything. Relativity, self-sustain. Again, with these DPS Jenos builds, there's no reason not to run Retrograde because you should be constantly healing allies. Then Side Reel. I don't care. Use whatever 1-point card you want for this, honestly. I think 1-point cards like this just aren't important. Like if you see, like maybe this would be more value. Maybe this could be more value for extra self-sustain. You can find value in its personal preference. So that's bad talent deck. So that's Jenos. Let's move on to the next support, which is Maldamba. Maldamba is interesting. I believe I have... All right, we're going to delete this and we'll make a build. So our main build for Maldamba, which since I run Eerie Presence 3 or 4, is this. I don't care how good you think your aim is, run Eerie Presence, because there will be times where your allies dodge your heals. It sounds stupid and it sounds like an excuse, but they do it. Allies dodge your heals. They dash out of the way. It happens. So please don't just like macho man, like, I don't need Eerie Presence. I don't miss. My aim is the best in the game. I don't have to. I never miss. Yeah, whatever you say, George. You will miss. Possession. Run Possession. high. Having constant DR when you're right clicking is just so important. It keeps you alive in so many different situations. Swift Spirits 5, let's talk about that. It is so good because you are putting a pocket on somebody. In the duration of that heal, they get 35% movement speed. It is one of his best cards. Then I run Medigords too. And in Ritual Magic, I think having, again, some sort of self-sustain is nice. Even though it's 15 health per second, I can't tell you how many times that you're as Damba, you're there just spamming autos, spamming heals, spamming gourds on point. And when you throw a gourd on point and it hits an enemy, it puts you in combat. So having some sort of self-sustain when you have to do that rather than gourding yourself is better than nothing. People don't like the Ritual Magic 1 card. I like it. I think it's still good. It's not a lot of health, but if you're missing half your health over like 10 seconds of just being in combat, you're going to get some of that health back. What are you going to get? You're going to get roughly like 150, 200 back. So it's okay. You know, it's a good card. I think it's important. And then if you're going to run Eerie Presence 4, which typically I run EP 4. I reduce 1 in Swift Spirits and put it in Eerie Presence 4. So this is main. This is Eerie Presence 4 main. And then let's talk about this one, because this is an experimental build that I'm willing to talk about now, that I've run for a while. I'm sure people have seen me run by now. This is my main build for Damba currently. Whoops. There we go. This is my main build for Damba currently. Eerie Presence 4, of course. Possession 4, you don't sacrifice possession. But what I do is sacrifice 2 points of Swift Spirits for other worldly 3. I can't tell you how valuable this card is, and nobody realizes it and nobody understands it, and everybody thinks it's kind of silly because, oh no, you're not running any cooldown on your gourd. Okay, so look at my main build, right? Unable to sell loadout. What do you mean? Okay, because I already have it saved. Discard, that's fine. Main, you're only getting 1 second off your gourd for a 10-second cooldown. You're only reducing it to 9 seconds. You missing that 1 second off a gourd compared to staying alive with otherworldly it's night and day, because you're going to be able to live more often with otherworldly, because after you dash, your immune dash, you're able to use that movement speed to skedaddle around a corner and or even dodge shots. There's so many different things you can do with this, especially when you buy Nimble on Damba, which sometimes usually you do. Instead of morale boost, you buy Chronos 2 into Nimble, or Chronos 2 into Blue into Nimble. It's so good. I can't explain how good it is, but this is my main build for Damba. So let's name this main. And then let's name this EP3 main, because that's my Eerie Presence 3, that's my Eerie Presence 4, and this is just my main in general. Really quick, how long has this been going so far? Let's check it out. And whoever has listened through this whole thing so far, God bless you. We're at 38 minutes right now, and I still have 3 champions to go. So that's why I'm flying a little bit faster, because it's going to be a long video. I wasn't kidding. If you're going to run Wakona's Wrath, I'd run something like this. And again, I'm not rebuilding the builds now because I think that was a bit silly. There is no reason to do that. It lets me think more when I rebuild them and look over them, but I'm just going to show you my main builds, honestly. Snake Pit, reload speed. You need to run reload speeds with Wakona's Wrath because you have to, because that's the whole point of the build. So you run Snake Pit, Eerie Presence, because you're running. See, this card is something I've played with Wakona's Wrath that I think is and then isn't important. You should be right-clicking as soon as you get it up, but it's not as important. You should be hitting your heals so you can get possession. So I would still run Eerie Presence 3, Medigords 2, Ritual Magic. If anything, I would run Medigords, get that out of here, and run something like Otherworldly. Maybe reduce this by 1 and add this. I would still run Possession 5 and Wakona's Wrath, because the DR is very important because you are fragging. So I'd run Otherworldly 2, Ritual Magic 1, maybe reduce Eerie Presence and put in a Ritual Magic this time. Just something like that. It's very, this build has a lot of variables, so be sure to check it out. Wakona's Curse. It's not a good legendary, but let's check it out. You don't really need Eerie Presence. Possession really doesn't work. None of these cards work, because you're going to be hitting enemies. So you'd run something closer to this. Base health, Otherworldly. You'd run Gourd cooldown for yourself. Maybe Sustenance, because you can get it up to 40%. Could be good. I don't know. It could be good, though. I'd run Feed the Spirits, because you are fragging more often. Let's keep these 4. This at 3, this at something like this. 2 seconds off. We'll do 5, 3, 3, 1. And then we'll run cooldown on dash. So feed the spirits. Since you're fragging more, you're getting more elims. It's more important to keep your cooldowns up. Many gourds, it's for personal self-sustain. You should be gourding yourself, gourding your feet whenever you're fighting people. Otherworldly because it's OP. And then incorporeal, you're just a tanky monster. Maybe instead of feed the spirits, you run ritual magic. But again, you're going to be hitting enemies. So this would be your self-sustain right here. Anything I would do this. A 4, 3, 3, 1. Because this is important because it is your self-sustain. Let's name this Curse. All right, we are done with Damba. That is Damba. There's nothing more to go over. I'll quickly put them up on the screen. You can pause them if you'd like and check out the build. There you go. Or you can go back in the video and rewatch it. Pip. Pepper. Okay, so let me see. Hold on. Yeah, okay, we have everything here. So Mega Potion, reload 5, super important. You want to get as much cooldown as you can on Mega Potion. It has an internal cooldown, so you need to be running. So one tip for everybody on gameplay, you should be running show card cooldowns. And on the bottom right, with Pip Mega Potion, you'll be able to tell if this goes on internal cooldown and when you can heal next, so you don't get a full 8-second cooldown, because you want to try to min-max that. You heal people, you wait, try to wait that internal cooldown out. If you can't, if you have to save an ally, do it. But it's going to hurt you in the long run. But saving the ally is almost always better. So it is what it is. Gift Giver 3. It's your self-sustain card. It's mega important because you're going to be constantly healing people for a lot. So you're constantly getting a lot of health back. Medicinal Excellence. Because Mega Potion is a single use giant burst heal, running a radius on your healing potion is important, so you can heal multiple allies. You can get the reload proc, and you can be getting heals off constantly. Moxie 1 I don't think is good anymore because it got nerfed. Moxie 1 used to be okay, but now it's bad. So I'd run something. Again, I haven't looked at this build in a while. They're buffing Pep in the step, which will be interesting next patch. We'll take a look at that. Maybe run Shrewd Move, even though it's only 8%. Maybe duration by 0.25, something like that. And then Smithereens, you're going to be right-clicking, so you might as well get 1 ammo back. The 1-point cards aren't as important on Pip, so pick what you want. So that's Mega Potion. This will be main Mega, because there are 2 main support legendaries for Pip. The other one is Combat Medic. Now, this is a card you don't see anywhere in the competitive scene, because reload speed cards aren't that good, because there are better cards. But with Combat Medic, since your heal works off your auto attack, it gets pretty good value. And even buying Deft Hands with this card, Deft Hands 1, is nice. Even with Combat Medic, you still want to be using your Mega Potion constantly on allies. This is very important. Reload is very good in this build for obvious reasons. Acrobatics Trick, these are the 2 cores. Sturdy, actually this is a core 1-point card. Sometimes with Combat Medic, you will be standing on top of somebody healing, autoing your feet. You want no knockback for yourself and some less damage, because Pip has the highest damage, self-damage in the game. It is so annoying. Sturdy is so important. Gift Giver, when you are healing allies, at least you get some health back. That is your only self-sustain. You should be throwing a pot to allies to make sure they stay alive, and use your Gift Giver to heal yourself instead of using the pot on yourself. And then Moxie, I would trade this out for Smithereens, because Moxie 1 is not good since it got nerfed. It wasn't very good before, but it's worse now. So this is Combat Medic main combat. There we go. Flask, this is my explosive flask build. Okay, so I have 3 variants to this. This is no weightless DR. I run lifesteal when people are slowed, full cooldown on the flask, so I get more damage procs. This is for a very passive, sit in the back, farm tanks Pip. If you're not going to dive in and make plays, which sometimes I just like sitting back and farming people, this is the build for it. Moxie, got to run Moxie on, even with the nerfed Moxie, you still run Moxie on damage Pip builds. Sturdy, any 1-point card here. Smithereens is important, and Acumen I like a lot, because you get self-sustain and it procs off Moxie, so it's kind of nice. DR Flask. So this is for if you're going to be diving more often. I believe I stole this from Fish or somebody, I don't remember. But you want to run high DR on weightless. You want to run pretty good cooldown on your weightless. I run Gift Giver 2 because sometimes you do want to heal your allies, and at least you get some sustain back for that. Gift Giver is something you can replace for something like Sprint, Side Tanks, Acumen, just whatever you think is good. So I would trade out Gift Giver if anything. Smithereens is important because you do want that couple ammo back, and then Moxie 5, Core 2 damage pit builds. And then Team Flask. So this is DR plus a little bit of team. Gift Giver is important on this one. So again, we run DR. We run it one less though, because we're a little bit more team centric, and we're going to be using their heals on allies. I believe Bittner has a very similar build to this, not one for one, but very similar-ish, because I believe he runs reload in his damage pit builds. Smithereens 1 is important. Gift Giver, because you're going to be healing allies more often, Gift Giver now gets higher value. Moxie 5, a core, you have to run it, and then reload. Because you're going to be healing allies, you want that cooldown off of it so you can possibly heal yourself next, or you can get another ally. The reload is the biggest difference running this at level 3, because you have to take a point off Escape Artist, and you replace from above in this build. So those are the Pip builds. There's a lot for Pip and a lot of different variations. That covers all the talents. So that is Pip done. Let's go over Seris, and then we go over Ying, and that is all. So final 2, let's get it. Seris. I'm just trying to think. Do I have... I don't know. Hold on. So Soul Collector, I'll probably make a build, and Agony, I'll probably make a build for, but Mortal Reach is the most important. So Seris, whoops, I don't like how that does that. Mortal Reach. This is my main build. Wait, hold up. This is my main build. So we're gonna name this main. I don't think this build is relevant anymore, so we'll delete that. This is also considered kind of my main build. So these two are both my mains. Main 2. So first one, Veil 3. I think it's important to run a higher Veil. I used to think it's not, but I came to the conclusion that it is. It is important that you run a higher Veil, even at the highest level, because there is a lot of damage in the game, and you want to quickly be able to avoid it. Blood Pact is your self-sustain. You run that level 3. Soul Forge 5. You need to run your Restore Soul off. You have to run this at 5. No ifs, ands, ors, or buts. You run this at 5. Umbral Gate. You need to be constantly throwing out your orbs in between heals and tagging people so you can get this 24% movement speed. It's very nice. It is very nice in Seris because you have no dash ability or quick movement ability. All you do is go immune and you don't really go anywhere. But this card kind of offsets that. Again, for Damba, sometimes you use your dash to reposition. Seris, you don't. That's why you run Umbral Gate. Dark Whisper kind of offsets that. When you go invisible, at least you'll have some extra movement speed to get out of a situation, because you are, without this card, you are 1-for-1 with the person, and if they are close to you, they will know where you're going. So Dark Whisper kind of offsets that. It's a good 1-point card for. So yeah, Veil, very important. Run Veil. Self-sustain, you have your cooldown, you have your movement, you have your 1 point. That's my main. Second main, I get rid of Umbral Gate for Fade to Black. I use this for very close maps like Bright Marsh, Jag, if I'm running Seris on there, because, and I run it on there if they have dive, especially. If I'm safe, okay, but if they have dive, I need this, because your cooldown is 14 seconds on your movement ability. It hurts. So you want it up a little bit more often to make sure you can get in that dash again next time they dive. So say they dive one time, the dive wasn't successful, and maybe they get a good disengage off their dive, so they get out. You want to try to get that dash up as soon as you can to get ready for their next dive. But typically I run this build. Is this for... I don't remember this build. I'm going to delete it. And this build was for Void Abides back in the day, because Bane is very good with Void Abides. Soul Collector. Let's see. Soul Collector, you want a higher Veil as well. Let's see. For DPS Soul Collector, I'd run Health. I'd run Extra Ammo. I'd run Umbral Gate. And I'd run... I don't think this card's worth it. It's not enough cooldown. Maybe Soul Forge, so you can at least heal allies. What is this missing? It is missing self-sustain, which is important. But This is tough because you're very tanky. You need the movement speed and you need the cooldown. So maybe you replace Soulforge for Blood Pack 3. If you want to try it with or without self-sustain, I would replace this card. But the rest of these cards are kind of cores to this build. You want movement speed on Soul Collector. If anything, I'd do this. But I like the extra ammo because you can spam, just constantly be harassing somebody and stick on somebody with extra ammo. Base health with Soul Collector makes you very, 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 very tanky. Veil lets you get out of situations that you normally couldn't. And yeah, that's for Soul Collector. And then Agony, I'm not even gonna make Agony. There's no point. I don't like making Agony builds. I think they're silly. I think the Legend talent is silly. I already gave my opinions on what they should have done with Seris because this is not very good. I'm sure people use it at lower levels. That's why it stayed. But I'm not gonna really make a build for it. If you have an Agony build, tell me about it. Tell others about it. I'll pin it. I don't think Agony is that important. Ying. Ying is, again, very basic. There's not much to Life Exchange. Resonance, I have a build for it, and Focusing Lens. It's just a typical Ying build. So, let's see. Testing, this is for Reso, so we're going to make this Resonance. See, save that. Main. Yep, this is our main build, okay. Reset. I don't think I really need this health. I don't think that's important. I think there's really only one build for her now. That's not important either. So it's down to these two builds. This is the main build for Ying. Illusions lasting for 3 seconds makes it to where you can constantly have 2 illusions up as long as an enemy doesn't kill it. Spring Bloom. The enemies will be focusing your clones. So you have to run Spring Bloom. No ifs, ands, ors, or buts about it. You need Spring Bloom. So run it. Do it. Don't talk back, just do it. You need Spring Bloom. Because they will focus your clones, you need to get them out again. Squadron. I'm running at this at 2. Sometimes with clones, what you want to do is put them in front of an ally. If they are in desperate need of help, you put the clone in front of an ally, they get 1 heal from it, and then the clone dies. This makes it a little extra tanky. And you run Fracture at level 1, so you can heal your clone. So maybe you put the clone in front of them, you right-click them because you're running Life Exchange. That clone's able to tank 1 extra shot. So that's gonna be able to put them out of caught, save them. Squadron 2 is important. Brittle 5 is a core. These 3 are cores. These 2 are a little bit more variable, but I would still run these 2. Brittle 5, you have to run it on Life Exchange. You need as much cooldown as you can off your right click. It's just the most important. So that is for Life Exchange. Resonance, this is a build. If you want to go watch my Making the Meta video on Ying, the clone army, you will see what this is and why this is used and how this is used for Resonance. But you want to be shattering all the time. It's very hard to explain the build here. You have to just go watch the video, but this is my Resonance build. Pursuit, let your clones chase forever and as fast as they need to. Spring Bloom, you want them to kill the clones so you can constantly get clones out. Encouragement, if you get an elim, you get another clone out, which is more damage. And then Rewind, if you use your Dimensional Link, you have another clone which you can send out, and the Dimensional again, you have another clone you can send out. So go watch that video. This build will make perfect sense, but I'm gonna leave it at that. Focusing Lens, maybe run Tangible, Encouragement. You could still run Spring Bloom. I would actually run a higher health Spring Bloom. I think this is actually important. Yeah, we can run that. So we run that 4, little extra health, and 2. All right, so this is a very quick build. Squadron 4, because you're running Focusing Lens, you're gonna be throwing clones still, and use your clones to body block yourself. Put clones in front of you while you auto attack, so they have to get through more beef to get to you. Since you're gonna be using your clones to body block, you want to run Spring Bloom, so when your clones die, you'll have another one pretty soon. Carry On lets you have a couple clones up at once. With Carry On 2, you'll only be able to have 1 up, but as soon as that one goes down, you'll have another one. Encouragement, with Focusing Lens, you are very focused on getting elims, and the more cooldowns you get, the more you can snowball. On DPS builds, these are more important because I don't have to run something like Brittle, so that's why I'm able to run this. And then base health on a DPS build is always kind of nice. It's nice to be a little more tankier. Play around with these points. I think this is actually the 5 most important cards though. So play around with whatever points you want. Try it out how you want to try it. So we're going to run Lens. All right, so that is Ying, and that is the build guide for patch 2.07/2.08. I think we're going to put that in the title because I think for the next 2 patches, nothing changes with support builds, maybe IL, in which we'll do a champion chat on soon to explain her build and what the variations could be. But that's it. The build guide's over. If you watched from point A to point B to point C to point Z, let me know down in the comments if you watched this whole entire video through, and if you did, you are a saint. You deserve all the praise in the world. And if you watch this whole video through, bless your soul. But if you just came in for a certain couple champions, I hope you enjoyed it. If you're checking out this outro, I hope you're seeing it. I hope everybody enjoys their day, night, evening, morning, dawn, dusk, or whatever it is where you live. And I will see you in the next one. Later. And a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters: Captain Splashclaw, Joshua Branchflower, Joseph Slaswa, Jazzy Caddis Game, MV Panda, and all other Patreon supporters. Thank you so much.